Do apologize if the lighting's not great in here. It's not really a good spot to do this, but I sit on the couch. It's kind of nice. I was just speaking to a coworker of mine, a guy that he's in line for a promotion, and he should be getting this offer tomorrow, which I'm really excited about. He's a guy that I hired as a sales rep, and he reported directly to me while I was vice president. And then I had put in another role, like a director of sales, and he reported to that person. Then he became what we would call like a key account manager, so managing really like specialized accounts in his region. And then that director of sales decided to leave the organization for another opportunity. She's actually someone who I have a lot of respect for, who's doing really well. And we promoted him into that role because he was more than ready. And he's been doing that role, and along the way, he's been getting more and more responsibility within that role, especially as I ascended to president, CEO. I needed someone to really take on a lot of my VP stuff. So because we're a company that's owned by another company, which is owned by another company, things no longer happen quickly. So this was something I wanted to get done a year ago, and it's the red tape after the red tape after the red tape. It's finally happening, because if you follow the series on the channel, Canceling Out My Job, you will know that I'm leaving the company. And that's actually what struck a nerve with the high ups, because they thought, oh shoot, now we're at risk. If he were to go, and because he's not happy that we didn't make this move, he is more than beyond deserving of this, and that's what has frustrated myself and the management team that works for me. So he also has become like a kind of a buddy too. He's a good guy. We were just having this conversation on the phone, just talking. I said, because we're now owned by a large company, HR gets involved in these things. So this discussion is supposed to take place tomorrow, and I will not be on that call. It's HR driven. But so I was just saying, hey, you're excited for tomorrow, and I know he is, etc. So we were just talking about like roles and whatnot, just in general, like throughout a career. And somehow, some way on the line, one of us said, because he was talking about his new role and the title and this and that. So we were both saying how like titles mean nothing, but they mean everything. And we were kind of laughing and saying, you know what, that's actually really accurate, because like, look, I don't think the title makes the person, right? At all. And he feels that way too. But when you are trying to make your way up, and kind of grow your career, unfortunately, titles mean everything. Unless you're with the same organization and you have this upward mobility. But I'll give an example. He and I were just talking about this. So I've had the role of team lead over the year in terms of supervisory or management. Team lead, manager of, like where they start giving you more responsibility. Vice president, president, CEO, managing director. I've had these titles, right? And what I said to him today was, I said, the hardest jump, not from a challenge of the role per se, but getting someone to give you the opportunity, getting your foot in the door, was going from sales rep to team lead. And I remember, and I was reminiscing with him on the phone to see if he agreed. And of course, he reminded me I was the one who gave him his first shot into management, and that he didn't really have to wait around that long. I said, well, that's great. But for me, I remember I was with a company for about 6 months, and they were doing their annual reviews, and they asked me to, just talk about my first 6 months and what would you like to do with the company. And I basically said, I hope at some point because I've been kind of mentoring the others here in my short time here. I hope at some point as the company grows and there's a need for sales manager, I'm considered. It would be something I think I would do a really good job with. And my boss, who turned out I learned later on is very insecure, said to me, "Oh, we'll never have a need for that role here." No, well, no. And instead of saying something like, "Hey, while we don't have that role today, you never know what the future may hold," or if you're looking to get into sales leadership, here's, based on what I know about you today, these are the types of things you should work on to grow. None of that. And again, he wasn't. He was a great guy, but just not really great in that role. So after that sunk in, and it stung because I really wanted to spend a long time at that company at that time. Excuse me. It seemed like whenever I sit on the couch, I start yawning. After that's, I really did some reflecting, and I really liked the culture of the company, and I had only been there for 6 months. I'm like, give it 2 years, see what happens. And along the way, and I thought to myself, if I see interesting sales management positions out there, I'll apply for them. So I did do that. I applied for them, and usually the first question by the person screening is, tell me about the people you manage. Tell me about your leadership style. That you can kind of get around because you can kind of say how you would lead, But still, they would say, give me an example with an employee that you had to cut ties with. Tell me about how you hire people. Tell me about the culture. Tell me if you have someone who's not a culture fit. Tell me if you prefer experience versus inexperience, and how you make that work. All these things that you really can't get through an interview with because they stop you at some point. Even if you kind of blow them away, they might say, go get some experience and then next time around apply. I've had that happen. So I used to get really frustrated because at that time I was about 30. I was like early 30s, right? And I thought by the time I'd be 30, I'd be like a CEO or something. It's because I thought, 30, I'll be old. If only I was 30. And I remember thinking, oh man, I'm like a sales rep. And I'm not knocking sales reps. I know some excellent career sales reps who are way better than I ever was, and they're amazing. Like, they're absolutely amazing. But I'm just saying, for me, I felt I had more to offer as a coach, as a mentor, as a leader in that sense, than I ever could as a sales rep. And I talk about, check out my video that I did, how I talked about how I stunk at sales and how I overcame it. That was my thing. Like, I had to work really hard to be, good at sales. Like, and it wasn't because I was passionate at it. It was just because I felt that was the door into business. So eventually I just said, I am going to work my butt off, work really, 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 really hard. So hopefully as we grow or something comes up, I'm ready. And then this same manager, about a year later, comes back and says, the president would like you to be team lead. What a jerk way of saying it. I said to him, like, do you want me to? Oh, yes, yeah. He realized what I said and said, oh, yes, yeah, we're aligned on that. So very quickly, I'm from team lead to sales manager. Like, all of a sudden, things just started rolling for me. Like, within a very short period of time, they changed my title to sales manager, then sales manager of the Americas, and then sales manager. It was something weird like sales manager of the Americas, but direct business globally, responsible for also the customer service team. So like, it was just happening, like just rolling now. And then as I had that position, I get a call from a recruiter to be a vice president of sales. And I tell that story on one of the other videos about the longest interview process ever. If you want to be entertained or horrified, go check out that video. But then as vice president, and then as I was working at my current company that I'm canceling out, I was constantly getting recruiters asking me about being vice president of this, vice president of that. And I'm a big believer, like, unless it's a step up and it's a step up for the right company, like you just don't do it to do it, then I'm not interested. So I wanted to stay the course, stay loyal. Um, that is also a video I talk about is loyalty and when to break it. Check that video out. This is becoming a self-promotion video here. But seriously, all this stuff intertwines together, because I'm talking about my experiences, right? And then when I became president and CEO, same deal. Now I'm not only getting like vice president interest for other companies, but CEO as well. And I don't want to say I'm not doing anything. Obviously, like, I keep my LinkedIn profile. And if you're on the business side and you want to connect professionally, go to my LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect with you and continue conversation out there as well. But if you're looking for a professional connection, but what I'm saying is, titles mean nothing. Meaning, like, what I mean by that is, as president CEO, I walk around my organization and I consider everyone a colleague. We're all colleagues. And when I have to be president CEOs, whether making a decision, my job function in terms of maybe working on strategy or executing something, a project, whatever. But when I'm just walking around and we're in meetings, we all have equal voices. Yes, somebody has to have signature authority and all that kind of stuff and be accountable for everybody. Yes, of course. But when we're all together, we're equals. And I expect everyone to talk to each other as equals, whether you're the shipping clerk, you're vice president, you're middle manager, sales rep. That's, to me, where titles mean zippo. But where they mean a ton is every time you update your LinkedIn profile, recruiters and HR people, they're looking for you by keywords, searches, certain phrases, and they see that stuff, and your stuff pulls up, and they see that you've held that title, and with that title comes an assumption that you've had certain responsibilities, right? So that's where it does mean everything. And sometimes employers don't understand that. And I think, to me, if you're on your way up in your career, a title might be more important than compensation. And not because the title should make you more important in your organization. If you think that you're missing the point of this video, the title is kind of like the title of your chapter to the experience you have in that role, right? So if you say vice president of sales, if I see that on a resume, or if that's the title of the chapter of your book, then I'm thinking, okay, this person has implemented sales strategy, has done market research, they know how to build out a compensation plan for their sales org, they've built a sales org. So that's where a lot, and yes, you have to dig in, because sometimes titles don't always mean the same thing to people or organizations, but typically there is some type of work that they've done that validates that title, right? So that is really where it's important. It's the title to the chapter of essentially your career book, if you will. And each title is kind of like its own little standalone chapter. So again, that is, I thought, an interesting message, and this literally, I just got done off that phone call and just popped on the video because it really got me thinking, and I thought this might be something interesting to share. Titles mean nothing, but they mean everything. And while that sounds like double talk, I think it's very relevant. And I would like to know what you think. Have you experienced something like this? I also am very curious if you're somebody who is trying to get into leadership as an individual contributor. Share in the comments what your approach has been. You know, I told you what my experience was, and I'm very aware. You could be the right person at the right place, but at the wrong time. Right person at the wrong place and the wrong time. And I think for me initially, I had some of that. For me, I was the right person, right place, but wrong timing until it became the right timing. Now, hopefully, the common denominator is we're all the right person, and you know, it's just your timing has to be right. I've actually seen the wrong person at the right place at the right time get their first sales management role. It was a number of companies I worked at ago. I was definitely an individual contributor, and I'll have to do a video on that job because that job was it's like I'm sweats thinking about it. But this guy who became a manager, I literally overheard him say, "This is great. I don't have to talk to customers anymore. That's what you guys are for." So that was not good. So let me know in the comments about if you're trying to break into leadership, what you're trying, what your approach has been. If you are in leadership, and how do you feel about titles? Are we aligned in our thinking, or do titles mean everything to you all the time? Do you feel that titles demand respect out of the gate? I do not. I mean, there's a courtesy, right? But there's not like automatic, like, oh, I gotta bow before this guy because he has a title. No one should be bowing in front of anybody. No, not even the president of the United States. That's a different topic. So make sure you like, subscribe, comment, as I said before, and thank you for your time, and let me know. See you next time.